Thank you so much for joining, and a very, very big thank you to Faye, our amazing organizer. Thank you, Faye, for organizing this webinar and for checking with the juniors what was their topic of interest. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to dive directly into it. The idea of today's meeting is to go through decoding a client brief, which is what I think might be the most difficult to do and the most important. I know it's a difficult part because this is one of the questions a lot of you are asking me. How do you do to make the difference between the images or reference the client is giving you and how to interpret them? So we're going to try to decode that today, knowing that, please, you are very welcome to stop me and ask any question at any point of time. To make it efficient, I recommend that you write your questions into the chat box, and Faye will be relaying the questions to me as we go, okay? But if you feel like you prefer to talk, you're very welcome to on your mic and just ask the question whenever it comes. So what we're going to go through today is basically trying to understand really what is a concept. And for it to be efficient, you first need to understand the client. Then I put up three different examples for you. The first one being a residential, and this is a real project from the platform, so maybe some of you have worked on it. The second one will be a retail, also from the platform. And the third one is a workplace, which is a project I've worked on personally. So maybe it would be able to see the difference between your way of interpreting a concept versus my 26 years experience. So most of you know me, few of you don't. So I'm going to explain you quickly who I am. So I'm Delphine, I'm the director and founder of the Life Design Project. And I'm myself a 26 years professional in interior design. So I've been working in every kind of fields, from workplace to hotels mainly, but also F&B, retail, and luxury residential. I'm based in Singapore for the past 26 years. So I hope I will be the right person to explain you what is a concept. So a concept, in a nutshell, okay, is a composition of images and reference that you put together in order to portray the idea you want to bring out to the client. So it can take different forms. It can be mainly images. It can be a lot of materials combined with furniture. It can be existing photos of something, as long as the combination of it gives the impression of what the client is going to get. Usually, the client, they don't have a clue of what they want. Their referential is based on their life, wherever they travel, their education, their demographic background, the country they were born, the image they can see in magazine, on Pinterest, etc., etc. So usually they will have a combination of many, 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 many different things, but that doesn't specifically tally together. So your role is going to make sure that you only select the right ones and that you create a story with whatever collection of images and stories you're going to get, okay? They have no idea of specific styles. So, for example, a client will tell you, oh, I want a modern look. But their definition of modern compared to your definition as a professional of modern is going to be very different. Modern style is a style by itself with specific rules, with specific material you use, specific kind of furniture you use, etc., color tone and palette, all that. So when they say, I want modern, it might mean that they say contemporary. So for you to be sure of what they want, you will always ask them for either reference picture, or what I do personally is I give them a design book guideline with many different styles. I think we have about 17 identified styles. And I ask them, what is it that you like in this style if they pick one? Is it the color ambience? Is it the material? Is it the furniture style they are? And sometimes they will combine different ones, which we're going to see. So how are you going to extract what they really want with the information they are giving you? Okay. They also, you have to understand that you are not designing for yourself, you are designing for the client. So even though you do not agree or you don't specifically like the style that the client is going towards to, it is your role as interior designer to fit their requirement. Okay, you will not be the one living into the space, but they will be the one living inside the space. Okay. I hope that's very clear, but I wanted to make it clear, at least, because it's the most important. There's a lot of project that I see in the live design project, because you're all juniors, that doesn't meet clients' requirement. I can really see that you didn't read properly the client-specific style. So that's why we wanted to do this webinar. First thing first, okay, and this applies to everything. Whenever you do an interior design project, and whatever typography of project it is, whether it's residential, workplace, retail, anything, what you always have to take in mind, in consideration, is not the way people live today, but what will be the best for them. So what you need to understand is what activities they are performing in whatever rooms in the house you need to do. For example, stupid example, but that's the one I prefer to give to the client because it's a very straightforward one. If I tell you, if the client is telling me, I want to sleep, I'm not going to build a kitchen, okay? I'm going to do a bedroom. So if you take it further, let's say I want to do a bedroom, what activities I'm going to perform into this bedroom? Because this will define the type of settings and furnitures you would choose to make it work for them. So people shouldn't have to adapt to a place. It's the place that needs to adapt to people. And that's the main difference between a professional interior designer and someone with good taste, for example. You have to work out the best for each of the people in terms of what we call operation. So let's take the first example. This was a project in our platform recently. Actually, it's still an ongoing project because the client didn't select the winners yet. But it's a couple in their 40 to 50s. They have two kids, 4 and 8 years old. They have 2 dogs. It's a holiday house. They are French, and the project is taking place in France. For their style, they've been selecting few different styles from our style guideline that we give them, but they also gave additional pictures from Pinterest that they collected. So with that, we will try to understand in this webinar how to extract the information from all the ones they are sending us and giving to us. There is one thing that I usually do, not for small projects, I will be honest, but for big projects, I will stalk them on their website, on social medias, to try to understand the style they like. You know, pictures of holidays they are going to, type of places, hotel they stay in, etc., etc. Sometimes they have a picture of them in their house with their kids. So how is their house today compared to what they want to have? So this is a good way to understand better your client. And the last thing, when you want to understand about the client, is it's very important to know where is the project taking place, okay? You have to do with the environment. So when I say where the project is taking place, it's the country, the town, the exact location, but it's also the building itself. How is the building? Where is the light coming from? Am I east or west? When is it going to be the best day with the best light, etc., etc. Depending on the countries you stay, you may want to have a lot of light, but some countries is too hot, so you may want to avoid light. So again, location is very important to understand, to locate properly each room inside the house or workplace or anywhere, but also each furniture inside each specific room. And the last thing, of course, is the budget. So my experience in Asia is that clients don't like to give a budget because they want you to come, they don't want to restrain you in your creativity. So they say, okay, do whatever you want, answer the brief and everything, and then we'll see the budget later. So what it makes is that most of the time you end up doing a project, which is going to be a very nice project, obviously, and then you arrive to the cost, it's too expensive, then you have to start cutting down. But I agree, although it's a little bit of waste of time for you as a designer, it's also the best way to achieve the best and just remove, just be smart in giving the same mood, feel, and ambience, but reducing certain costs, maybe on certain materials or furniture, still keeping wow effect on certain pieces. So that's for the cost. So this client, when I send them our design guideline, which is about, again, I think about 17 pages of different design explaining each of the style and showing references of every single room in the residential. So it's very clear. So every time you have a living room, a kitchen, a dining, a bedroom, and a bathroom at the minimum, and an explanation of what is the style, what type of material, what type of furniture, etc., etc. So this client picked 3 of the style, which is already by itself a nightmare, because each style being so specific, you're going to wonder why did they pick 3 different styles. So I'm going to show you those 3 styles, and I'm going to ask you to work there with me and to tell me, to find out what is the common denominator of those 3 styles, to understand why they picked it, okay? So this is style number 1, eclectic, okay? So it's a mix of furnishing and decor, prints, pattern, and texture, carefully curated, okay? That's what basically is eclectic style. And I only put every time the bedroom and the bathroom because for this project, this was the only 2 rooms the juniors had to work on. The second style that was picked by the client was country style. Okay, so country style is creating a cozy and nostalgic feeling that turns a house into a home. They are made with natural materials, particularly wood, celebrating the life outdoors. Color palette incorporates pastel and bright colors. All right, the last one is rustic. So you can already see, I think, a similarity, quite obviously, between country and rustic. Now, what is the common denominator? After I will show you 3. That was the really basic ones, but I want you to think about, for you, what are the common denominator? Can you please write your answers in the chat, and we will look at it? Faye, you're gonna have to tell me what's written in the chat because I can't see the chat. Why can't I see the chat? Can I? Yes, I can see the chat, sorry. Wall finish, neutral tones. Very good, that's a good answer. Anything else? Mina, Courtney? Any idea? Wood? You can participate, Faye. We are happy to have you here. No worries. Yes, raw materials. Okay. All right, so let me give you the answers if no one else wants to write anything. Okay, let me push this out. So basically the answer, and you have it well, first one, the most obvious one, is all material are raw and solid, okay? Natural color palette, and I will say with a twist, okay? Because, for example, the twist here will be, so I can give you a few, but the way the natural material are put together, this is not something, this is a composition. It's not something that is coming out of the shelf. It doesn't come like that. So this is the twist part, okay? Here, the twist part will be, you see the wood board here on the bathroom. This wood board, I guess, are used to put some shampoo, all the amenities and everything that are for the bathtub here. This is not a common way to put it. So this is a little twist. It's wood, but it's shaped in a boat and it has apparently nothing to do here. So that's the little twist, even though it matches everything else. in terms of style. This one, okay, this one, there is a lot of twist because it's eclectic. So it's very easy to find twist in eclectic. Just a combination of pattern, color, nothing's matching is already a twist by itself. But the fact, for example, I will say also that the fact to use a very classic pattern over a very modern style design of flooring is already a twist also. So that's for number one. Number two, which you didn't get, but it's hand-picked old and unique furniture that will make the space very personal. Okay, it's not the same if I buy everything from page 3 catalog of IKEA and I put it and everyone has the same interior. And if I do 90% of IKEA, but then the last 10% of curated pieces that I went and pick nicely, you know, over antique shops, over markets, that I got from my grandma, from my parents, or whatever. This will give it a style. And you can see that each of them has a piece like this. So here we can say it's the bathtub that makes it unique, for example. And I'm not even talking about decoration, but this is quite obvious that those chairs are very old chairs. They are not brand new chairs. So you could see those end things. And here, of course, any of the design elements and even the door I'm sure wasn't there. It's not the original one, but it has been handpicked and reused here. Okay. Don't hesitate if you have any question or if you do not agree, by the way. Number 3, common denominator, is the material and or decor bring a graphic element to the overall look. So what I mean by that is, for example, if you look at the composition here of the photo frame, this is a graphic by itself. If you look at the 2 different carpets, which is from the original image, these are very different graphics, okay? Same will apply here. Again, the way things are laid on the wall itself, the material and the way they are laid on the floor here. Here you can see also the pattern that is used on the wood flooring. So there is a graphic element, even though it's neutral in terms of colors, there is a graphic element to it that makes it less flat, less, some people will say boring. I don't like to say that because it's a question of taste, but at least it's not flat. Are we clear on that? If no question, I will continue. Any question? No. Okay, so let's continue. Now, this was the palette that was selected by the client itself. So these were the images selected by the client. This is the images of the place that juniors have to design. So as you can see, between that, the images selected and the styles that were picked, it's already very different. I put it again, okay? So what you're gonna try to get from there, and because it's not only one image, it has not been picked out of the blue. This is really what she's looking at. So what I will do in that case is I will tend to forget about the first images, even though we're gonna take a few pieces out of that, and concentrate and try to look at what is important into those images. And again, what are the common denominator, especially in terms of material and colors, because a mood board starts with that, your finishes. What are the finishes? So the way I proceed, and this is my trick, I'm not saying it's the only trick, but at least I'm giving you my trick, is I will do a percentage balance between the finishes and the colors. And I can tell you that from the junior project that I receive, most of the time it will be too much of this or too much of this or not enough of that. This is something that I see all the time. Okay, so if you do have, sorry, I'm gonna try to admit people. Give me 1 second. Livia is coming. So when you have, and I don't know if you agree with that, because I was the one to do it for you here. When I see the previous slide, okay, when I see this combination here, I can see a bit of dusty pink. I can see a lot of white. I can see raw wood everywhere. And I can see a pinch of green, whether it's coming from the greenery, the dark color, or the frame here. So this is what I've tried to portray here in terms of percentage. Of course, the percentage, you can adjust them, okay? But if you give me everything white, without the little touch of pink that will give the softness and the warmth to the room, then it will become very plain, okay? That's a little element that brings a lot. So it's quite important for you to understand that if you bring too much gray into it, it will not be the warmth that the client wants. If you put too much wood, it's going to be too busy. So there again, what is extremely, extremely important is to try to understand the right balance of each of the finishes. And if you look at it here, and this is how you start to understand the connection. Okay, so what will be, in your opinion, the connection between this and the styles that the client picked earlier? Again, I'm showing you quickly the three styles. So we had eclectic, we had country, and then we had rustic. And the selection of the client. Can you write in the chat what you think I should understand from everything? Any idea? %25%, they like a white theme, but with a twist. Yes, agree. What I was looking at is the original. So if you look at this door, they look raw and old, okay? You look at the stool, it's old. So, and because you see that, even though there were little elements, but you had the style that she said, yes, vintage, correct, that she has shown previously, oops, sorry, of a rustic, you know that you're gonna have to put an element of rustic inside your concept board. So I'm gonna give you a board that I've done in 5 minutes, combining everything. So taking in consideration the three styles that she picked from the style guide, plus the picture she sent, and how I turned out the percentage of color and material here, I could say that this could be a mood board to give to the client. All right. I have my linen, so the soft raw material, but that will bring softness. I have the touch of color. It can be with a little element, or it can be a cushion. It can be very simple. I have my solid wood. I have the glass and metal frame that she also showed a few times in few of the pictures, so that we're not in the other style, but that she mentioned in few pictures in the style she selected. Overall white and hand-picked items that will make it a little bit different, that will make it more personal to her. Again, the touch of green and the touch of raw finishes on the wall. All right. So this will be my interpretation of the styles she selected and the picture she gave. I don't know if you agree with me. If you don't, you're welcome to say so and give your own opinion. Before we move on to the next topic, which will be retail, do you have any question on residential? Is it clear for you, or do you have any question? Do you guys agree with my interpretation of what they say? Yeah, clear? Great. So if it's clear, let's move on to the next one. Okay. Oh, I keep moving too fast. Sorry. Okay, so now retail. The retail project is also a project that is ongoing in at the Life Design Project. There are several juniors working on it, and the winner has not been announced yet by the client, who is in holidays now, so didn't answer yet on the selection. But that was a tricky one because the client, I think, has given us over 30 images selection. So that was extremely tricky, okay? What you need to understand is usually whenever you work for corporate clients, whether it's retail, workplace, any kind of business, they have a branding book guideline that will usually show you what is the logo, the corporate color, primary colors, but also the secondary colors that you can use to mix with the primary colors. It will show you the graphics sometimes, what type of graphic you can use and not use. It will tell you the do and don't, which is quite important. Now, specifically for this project, the client, because he's building a brand, he has no guideline yet. So it's fully open, except that he selected about 30 pictures to explain the style he was looking for. And he also gave the one he didn't like, to be very, very clear. So I'm not going to go through the one he didn't like because it's, again, the idea of today is it's more an exercise than anything else. But first thing you need to start with, as usual, is understanding your client, okay? So who's the client? What is he trying to achieve? Who's his clientele, demographics? What time is it going to be a busy time? What time of quality of service he wants to give? What is the feeling he wants to give to people when they enter in the shop? What is the image you want to portray? He wants to be more, so it's a boulangerie, by the way. Is it more a family boulangerie? Is it more a working class boulangerie? Is it more a B2B boulangerie? All these kind of things. And of course, what is important to understand also is the neighborhood, okay? I'm in the suburb of Paris. It's a ground floor shop. It's not inside a shopping center. It's directly onto the streets. Who are the neighbors next to it to kind of understand the ambience and the other people that are surrounding and who are going to be the next clients, okay? So once you get all that sorted, the clients send us few pictures, okay? So this is just a selection of few. I will show you more later. But basically, I selected those pictures as first because what he said was, I want something authentic, elegant, chic retro, gourmet, rustic modern. So you already see that there are things that doesn't go very well together. Rustic modern is already completely controversial. Grandma's taste, okay? So grandma can go with rustic for sure and retro for sure. Timeless, that will last in time. Taste like home, so the homey kind of things. I'm inside my kitchen, I'm inside my grandma kitchen again. Apothecary side, timeless past grandparents, okay? So, and I think the picture is selected to send us is quite representing well the wording he put to go with it. So then he sent a whole bunch of I just picked few because honestly, I think there were over 30 pictures. So I just picked few out of those. But again, I'm going to ask you, what is the common denominator on these pictures, including those ones? Okay? What is your answer for that? Tell me, what is your thought? You can write it on the chat again. Industrial, okay. I will tell you it's very interesting because he said that what I don't want is industrial. Hence the confusion. Because in his mind, industrial doesn't mean that. Industrial doesn't mean raw. And Marine, you are right. Some of those pictures could go in an industrial style. What he meant is he doesn't want it cold. He wants a warm ambience. So you have to understand that from the picture he selected and the fact that he said, I want something homey, grandparents, rustic, warm, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's more from the wording expression than from the image. But it can get very, very confusing. And That's why I picked this project, because a lot of juniors were very confused when the project started, because between what the clients say and what it shows, there's a big difference. Brick and wood, yes, thank you. Thank you, Faye. Yes, brick and wood are definitely a common denominator of the project. Absolutely. So let me show you. All right. In terms of common denominator, and I'm not gonna go through everything. Country style, no, it's not what we call country style as a proper country style name. You can say classic, but actually no, it's not even classic. It's rustic style. Common denominator number one: all materials are raw and solid. Again, and natural color palette. You don't see any flashy color. You don't see a pinch of red, pinch of orange. It's not a food court. When you see McDonald's with yellow and red, when you see Burger King with orange and yellow, it's not that. Okay, so it's quite important to understand. Counter style, yes, that's a very good one, and it's part of it, which is our number 3. Very well done. So number 2, again, it's all professional furniture reused and repurposed. So you can see that some of the furnitures, like these legs, are definitely repurposed legs. This counter, definitely repurposed furniture. So all these elements that you can see are a common denominator. And when you're looking at a common denominator, maybe not all the picture, you will not find it in all the picture, but in most of the picture. So when the client is sending you 30 pictures, for sure 30 pictures will not show the same. But what is it that is the most common to all of that? And the third one is the counter skirt. So every picture you look at, the counter skirt is always the design element. Everything can be very simple around. This is a tile, white tile, and very simple shelving in wood. This is even more simple wood, very simple board. What makes it? What is the design element is the skirt. So if you don't get that, you don't get the project. And I can, one of the junior, the main concern of the client was the skirt. The other ones got it well. But one junior didn't see that, make a plain skirt. That's the first comment that the client came up with. So again, when I get all these pictures, what am I going to do? I'm going to try to define the percentage of what I understand, or I've basically calculated to be the right balance for material, colors, and textures. Okay, so this is my interpretation. Okay, plus minus. It doesn't mean that you have to use everything. You could pick few elements, but again, if you want to have the overall ambience, you should be careful of the percentage that you're going to put. If you put too much wood, it's going to be too dark, and that will be a comment from the client for sure. If you don't put enough warmth with the brick and the wood, then it will be too cold. So again, everything is about the balance. Okay? Any question on that? Is it clear? Do you agree? All okay?
I have my own personal question about this point.
Go ahead.
How can we make a ratio or the percentage between all these elements? Does it depend on how many times it's appeared in the inspiration photos,
No,
or like
it's your
my
eye.
personal taste?
You do it with your eye.
So that's where
And
us
it,
as a design or them as a designer
yes,
deals with the project. I see.
yes. It's and that's why usually what I do, and that's why I've done for the other pages, I think I put for you, I put here in small, the color palette, because when I see that and I see that, for me, that sounds right. That sounds right to me. Okay, so usually I will always put it together next to another. I work with 2 screens, so usually I will have the selection of the client on one side and my translation into percentage on the other page to try to relate them. Okay, and when I start my project, again, I might vary slightly one or the other percentage. And I might decide also to change this dusty pink into a celadon green, for example, because it has the same tone, it gives the same kind of mood and feel. So I'm not saying that you have to copy 100%. What I'm just saying is this is the basic. If you don't do that, I mean, if you don't know how to do that, at least you cannot do a proper design. I mean, you cannot, it's not that you cannot do a proper design, is you don't interpret the client requirements well. Does that answer your question, Faye?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, now let's move on to a workplace. And this example is an example of a project we just completed with my company. It's a workplace project. It's very corporate. So I had the entire brand book guideline with the logo, the specifics of it and everything. So first of all, I had to understand again, who was the client? So the interesting part about this project, it's a company called Star Alliance, and Star Alliance represent 26 airline companies. So it's one company regrouping 26 others. What I understand, the first thing I understood from that is that it has to be extremely neutral. Why? Because each of the company have their own company corporate colors. Okay. For example, Singapore Airline is blue. Another airline will be red. The other airline will be etc. etc. So if I pick one of these color, then they will say, oh, why are you picking this one versus the other one? And there would be a fight. So I knew I was going to be extremely neutral on my color selection, or pick a color that is not used by any of the brands, of the 26 brands, okay? One thing. Second thing is that because those 26 companies have their own identity, their own pride, okay? You have to make sure that whatever you do is not gonna overstep the others. I shouldn't shadow the companies by themselves, okay? These guys are just representing the 26 companies. They are not the companies themselves. So their project shouldn't overshadow the other brands, okay? So you have to keep it quite cost conscious, I would say, all right? Then the people who are going to go and visit, I'm not talking even about the employees. The employees are extremely important, obviously. You want to give the best type of environment for them. But the visitors are going to be mainly partners and again, the airline companies. So there are people that have quite high expectation, but at the same time that they don't want to feel like, oh, I'm paying them and they did a nicer office than mine. Okay, so you have to be very conscious of that. And the last thing, as usual, is where is the project taking place? The project is taking place in Singapore, inside a very new building, which is this one here in 1 George Street. But at the same time, it's by the river. So it's overseeing this row of what we call shop houses, which are the typical houses in Singapore. So you have this diversity between very modern, I'm in the middle of the CBD, and the old historic part of Singapore. But what I got from that is that the view is going to be stunning. So the way I'm going to lay my layout into the building, I want everything to have proper views. I want everything to have natural light and everyone to enjoy the view. But that's a different topic. So the client brief, basically, I had no brief. The only brief I had is that, okay, give me an office that will represent our company. So they sent me a kind of guideline of the way they do their lounges. So, you know, when you go to an airport, you always have the company lounges. And what Star Alliance is doing is that they are doing one lounge for the 26 companies. So for them, for the companies, it saves cost. So of course, for that, because it's very corporate, they have an entire guideline book. So what I did is I picked among the guideline book, I picked what I thought was the essence of the representation and the values of the company. So first of all, the colors, the color palette, very important. Then they say we need local display of local object, we need time zone display, we need black and white photos, we need topographic walls, and then in terms of material, they wanted whatever looks very raw and natural, okay? And using organic shapes. So that is the brief itself, which is no brief, which is the brief of the lounges themselves. This is my mood board interpretation, okay? So basically what I said, with who you are and whatever you're representing, what I want for you is to reflect Star Alliance global reach, the multicultural workforce, because you have, the company used to be based in Frankfurt and they just moved to Singapore. So people are coming from all around the world to join the company. So it's very multicultural. They are very committed to sustainability. So I made sure that I had some sustainable material, that most of material chosen and selected were sustainable. And we want something that will be inspiring for the staff, for the airlines themselves, and responsible in terms of sustainability. So again, I did a kind of combination of, and choose my own percentage of what I thought would be the material used, reusing again their brief. So I want to use natural lookalike materials, okay? But when you see marble, when you see different kind of solid wood, especially this one is very expensive, the other kind of marble, you're thinking, okay, I have to be cost conscious. So how am I going to do that? So my way of doing it is that I use travertine lookalike wallpaper in some specific areas and marble lookalike wallpaper, not the real material. So I can give the look and feel without the cost. So I keep the image of the company that they want to portray, but the airline cannot pinpoint at me saying, oh, you over budgeted. And wood, of course, you can use, I can use it in any kind. So for me, I used to look like vinyl, look like tiles, wood planks, sorry, vinyl look like wood planks. And you will see I put them in a very graphic way on the floor. So this is the finished project. So I just want to go very quickly from one page again to the other one. This is the client brief, their corporate image. This is my interpretation of it. This is the result. Do you see the connection between those three? What I wanted to finish with that, because it's a finished project, so I can show you the end project. What I want to explain you with that is that a project, you designing a project is the same as a writer writing a story or another book, okay? The beginning can be very good. If the end is crap, your book is not working. People won't like it, okay? You have to take people from one page to the other one. You want them to never put down the book. It's exactly the same for the design you do. Between when you're going to tell the story to the client and sell your project, from explaining them what is it that you are taking from their design corporate guideline, how you're going to interpret it and why you're going to interpret it this way, and the result, there needs to be a consistency. So when the clients arrive in the office, which is what happened to us here, the client is just like, wow, you've done exactly what we were expecting and looking for. You translated exactly without even us knowing what should be Star Alliance office. It's chic, it's efficient, it's working. This is the word from the client. I'm not trying to pepper myself, but the client said it's chic, it's efficient, it's working, and at the same time, it's not overdone. So it's not embarrassing for us compared to the airline offices. Of course, it's been brand new, but that's how it is. Do you have any question about that? Because this is the end of the presentation. So I hope I've been clear, but do you have any questions? Now it can be open question on any of the topic before. Again, the idea of this webinar is really to understand what information to take from a client in order for you to do the proper concept board. if your concept board, and this I want to insist on that, if your concept board is not working or is wrong compared to what the client really wants, your answer is going to be wrong. And because I see it a lot, I really, really wanted to insist on that. Spend a lot of time on your concept board because this is the most important. If you manage to tune it well, have the right, again, the right mood and feel from color ambience, material choice, percentage of each of them, what type of furniture, why, and the type of lighting. These are basically all the most important elements. If you get that right, your project is very easy to do after. You just have to translate it. And translation is the easiest part. Here, I'm not talking at all about layout and operation of the layout and everything, but I'm just talking about the concept. I've been clear? Do you have any question?
Hello. Yes,
Yes, eh?
I have another question. Just putting myself into the shoes of our junior designers over here. Um, how do we avoid from staying away from the client's pick style? Do you understand the question? Like,
Yes, I
how do
do.
we
You will
how do we avoid?
yeah, spinning away is like a, okay, I understand that. You have to come back to it all the time. And that's why I tell you, me, I'm very lucky. I have 2 screens. So I always keep what the client wants and what I do. And every time I refer to the original. And because I've done the study of, again, the percentage material and everything, every time I see that, oh, I overdo something, it's quite obvious. But of course, it's something you get trained on. So the more you will do it, the better you will get. But design is very process oriented. If you jump into the design and you start drawing right away and start throwing colors and materials without thinking of your concept first, you will never be a good designer. Very straightforward. You have to go through every single step if you want your project, again, if you want the story to work and your project to be consistent. You can never rush into a project. That's the worst thing you can do. And I tell you again, the more time you spend at the beginning in the research and making sure you get it right, the easier it is going to translate it. Because once you know exactly, like I know I have 50% of wood, I just have to choose after, do I put it on the floor? Do I put it on the wall? Do I want to give it a pattern? Like you can see here on the floor of the reception, we've given this pattern, and then on the in the corridor we slanted the wood so it gives like a kind of dynamic. But I knew the percentage I wanted to do. So after it's just trying and testing. But you can't. And if you see that you're overdoing something, when you refer to your mood board, which is your reference, you will see it right away. I have too much of this, not enough of that. It looks too modern compared to the image reference. I don't have enough, I don't know, colors, for example, or I don't have enough soft material like carpet, curtains, and everything. It looks too not warm enough, too cold. You can see it right away. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I hope it answers the questions of our juniors in their heads as well. I have another question. Again, me. Were
Yes.
there times where the client's inspiration photos were contradicting to what they were actually saying verbally in terms of their preferences?
Yes, definitely.
And how do you deal with that?
So there's 2 ways to do it. What you have to understand also is that sometimes clients send you very diverse photos because in one photo, they saw one element. So for example, in one photo, they will see a light that they like. In the other photo, it's about, I don't know, a chair. And then the other one is about a wood floor. But they don't tell you. So you can't find it yourself. So first thing you can do, if you're in touch with the client, is ask them, what is it that you see in the picture you sent me? Okay, what is it that you want to show me? I do that all the time. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, if you don't understand it well, send other pictures telling them, This is what I understood from the brief. I can't see really the connection between your brief and the picture. So do you mean by, I don't know, I want something modern, blah, blah. Do you mean that? And then you would send one or two example pictures, or is it more that? And then you send another picture and you refine it as it goes with the answer from the client. So that's the two-way. Either you start from their images, asking them what they like in their image, what is it that they are showing you, or you give them your interpretation and show them different examples for them to choose.
In this case, since our juniors are working with mentors, right, they can ask those same questions to their mentors during, I don't know,
Absolutely.
when they submit their deliverables. Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But usually the mentor should have made the brief clear enough. So the style is quite straightforward. But in the case of COOPS, for example, I was the one preparing the webinar. For me, it was quite straightforward what you had to find, but apparently it wasn't, because there were so many pictures. So either it's about selecting less pictures to be less confusing and just picking up the right one, but at the same time, you wouldn't like to miss something, that you don't want the juniors to miss anything. But everything is about communication. So if there's any doubt, you have to talk to your mentor, if you're working to your client.
Yes, that's we have 3 minutes left. Any more questions from our juniors?
Anything else from you? The record will be available. Faye will make sure that the recording is available for you guys if ever you need. Again, this is my interpretation. I've been working like this for 26 years. It worked quite well for me, but that's my methodology. You don't have to use it. But again, just bear in mind that if you don't get the concept right, nothing else will be. So this is the most important piece of the beginning of the story. It's like the skeleton of a book when you write a book. You know, who are the people? Where is it taking place? Blah 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 blah. You have to get all that. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. I hope it was useful for you. I hope you will put it in practice over your next projects with TLDP or in your school or jobs. And we look forward to the next one. Maybe if any of you has an idea of a topic for the next webinar, maybe you can write it quickly in the chat, or you can send an email to Faye if you want at ambassador@thelivedesignproject.com. But if you have anything in particular, I know a few people ask me for some specific topics, have many good, and send them to us. And do not hesitate. Okay? I want to thank you all for participating. Looking forward to the next one, and all the best for those of you who are already committed in a project, all the best. Bye-bye.